Aromatherapy is just a new name for an old love affair between people and nature. But my story is not an A to Z of aromatherapy. I had a vision of a movie with rich images of flowers and people from around the world. A movie about what happens with us in smell. A movie to connect us to nature and to the earth. I went on a journey. Mother Nature is a storyteller, and she uses the language of aromatic plants to tell her story. Some of the essential oil yielding flowers are called precious flowers, and their oils are called precious flower oils. This is well understood when we learn that it takes at least 30 roses to produce a single drop of true rose oil. For 1 drop of jasmine oil, 60 grams of flowers need to be gathered. For producing 1 liter of neroli oil, an entire ton of orange blossoms must be distilled. It is a precious effort from the earth to manifest these flowers, surely a labor of love from farmers to cultivate and care for, an intense work for peasants to harvest and gather, and a heart and soul investment of producers to distill the essential oils so we may obtain the final product. People have tried to develop distillation methods for thousands of years in order to separate the aromatic principles from plants. After the advent of modern technology, true and synthesized flower oils are produced for the fragrance industry. Now, aromatherapists speak of therapeutic properties of flowers and their oils, digging data from long ago and creating new research experiments. We are using the smell to create a certain effect on an individual mental or emotional state. It is using the potential of association of the mind with smell to create an improvement in an emotional state. From the very beginning of life, smell is a strong presence. The precious flower oils are all very anti-stress sedatives. Flowers are the maximum expression of the plant. It contains the highest potential for therapeutic properties. My work with smell and the psychological states of the mind and emotion has taken me to confirm this flower power. If smell has a special power among the senses, aromatic plants have a special power among the plants. Unlike others, they have an ability to create a link between mind and body, relaxation and sensuality. Aromatic smokes and fragrant preparations in ancient times were invariably linked to the union with the divine, body and mind purification, and rituals for energetic protection. The Egyptian myth of creation had the lotus flower as the first manifested form from which their sun god Ra emerged. The Egyptians were the oldest civilization in record, having a developed pharmacopoeia containing aromatic preparations for beauty, health, and the spirit using aromatic plants. The Romans combined social, political, and spiritual endeavors in all their city celebrations. They were smell enthusiasts, having flamboyant displays of aromatic plants and flowers in all occasions, and making practice of aromatics in their famous spas. In modern civilization, perfuming the body has the aesthetical status quo preoccupation, with a flavor of pheromones to attract the opposite sex and at the same time to trigger the masking of body odor. Body odor is a quintessential form of communication. It let us know, in a direct, however unconscious manner, our state of health and well-being. Our personal odor changes at the same time that our health, passion, emotional, and mental conditions also changes. In completely masking body odor, we run the risk of creating a barrier between the subtle signs going to the brain from our bodies through the sense of smell.
Mama, what's so bad about synthetics?
Don't think about what's bad, think about what's better. Chemists in a lab can create compositions that are imitations of natural substances. They're called nature-identical chemicals. But how can one create something identical to nature to be true?
So the word natural in products can be deceiving?
Look, even the ocean water can be created in a lab. But could you call it the ocean? After working with precious flower oils for many years, I go on a world journey to discover more about the environment and culture of these flowers and learn directly about the production of their oils.
Yeah, flew here and then from here.
From the beginning of my journey, I knew that in spite of fears, doubts, and apprehensions, all I needed for accomplishing a full year of exploration was latent inside of me, like the lotus just waiting to be expressed in full light. Beginning on my aromatherapy journey, my search for roses and the truth about rose oil production took me to many roads in Bulgaria. In this famous Rose Valley, long lived a tradition of the damask rose in her otto, the pure distillate of her waxy oil, the pride of the Bulgarian people, and the most costly and treasured perfume material of the world. Rosa damascena, the lacy and romantic damask rose of the ancient world, first cultivated in the famous place of roses, Persia, possibly 4,000 years ago, where many varieties of roses were grown. The damask rose was brought to Bulgaria by the Turks, who acquired this rose cultivation knowledge from the Persians. In Persia, once there was a language that came with the gift of a rose. Giving the damask rose to the beloved meant a timid love, but the pink colors of its petals is a promise of the perfect happiness of one's love. Here we are at Queen Maria's garden in Balchik, Bulgaria. And in this beautiful rose garden cut with canals, I'm thinking of how the story goes about the discovery of distillation of rose oil and how it was in Persia at a princess wedding. And her father ordered the canals to be filled with rose petals. And in the hot midday sun, the guests noticed a film of oil floating on the surface, and that smell of rose penetrating the air and filling very strongly the air with rose fragrance. And so that's how the first idea of the separation of the essential oil from the rose came about. Up by 4 a.m., the ride to the fields to pick Rosa damascena is an early one. Meeting other neighboring field owners on the way, that wonderful feeling of the 3 weeks of the rose season. At the fields, rose pickers catch the first rays of sunshine, coloring bright pink the delicate blooms, translucent and powerfully fragrant. The work begins at sunrise, continuing for 3 to 4 hours with a variable amount of blooms each day. Experienced hands perform a special motion to pick roses and move carefully between thorns. The special climate of this region is a fine balance between moisture, which keeps roots humid during spring, and moderate sunshine, which causes the bursting of the blooms at temperatures between 16 to 21 degrees centigrade. Farmers move the earth back and forth 4 times between the seasons, balancing dryness and moisture and eradicating rosa's number one enemy, the rose fungus Fusarium botrytis. If roots are grafted every 10 years, bushes can last 100 years or more. Harvest is gathered by 8 or 9 a.m. Each morning's work produces 2 20-kilo bags per person. Bulgarian rose cultivation is a family operation. After a full year of hard labor, taking care of every bush in their fields, it hardly seems like work now when spring comes and the harvest fills the eyes with beauty, the lungs with fragrance, and the pockets with money. Now it's time for pleasure, reward, and happiness. The rose harvest reaches the marketplace by wagon, by car, by motorcycle, by horse, or even from many miles by foot. After the change from communism in 1989, some of the rose oil producing distilleries closed down, and slowly a privatization movement began, in which producers are now independent from what used to be all government-run factories. The land was given back to the people. Present owners may or may not have agriculture and rose culture knowledge. Some have decided to continue, others not. In talking to the locals, I begin to see the situation. Rose field areas diminished in half. Some farmers could now be open to foreign joint ventures. After having years of a government that motivated, organized, and provided all necessary needs when everyone harvested roses in the valley, it is not so easy now to quickly be independent and face a world market while developing new systems. Things change for people at the marketplace. Deliveries are all granted a record for later payment rather than the immediate payment as it was before. The condensed rose water from the steam, called the hydrolate, was the original interest for rose distillation, used mainly to supply the Islamic nations, which use rose water as a panacea and in most of their cooking activities and rituals. While the production of rose water traces back to the Middle Age, the steam distilled rose oil, as we know it today, began about 330 years ago. This distillery produces 6 kilos of rose oil per day during the 3-week period of harvest, needing about 4,000 kilos of roses to produce 1 kilo of rose oil. The annual production of rose oil in Bulgaria averages 300 kilos, mainly to supply the fragrance and food industries of France, Germany, Switzerland, England, and the USA. In Bulgaria, the damask rose found the best environmental conditions for producing the finest rose oil in the world. After inspection, all produced rose oil must be bottled in copper canisters and sealed with the traditional government-approved lacquer seal. In spite of the excitement on the land, the river runs black during the rose season from the disposal of massive amounts of rose pulp into the river after distillation. The fish migrate upstream to wait for the waters to clear again after the summer. Bulgarian rose production is in critical need for an ecologically sound recycling program. Bulgarians hope for foreign funding and assistance. It was in the village of Strelcha that I experienced the joy of preserving the tradition of the rose culture, as it always have been, a peasant celebration of the fruits of their labor. The most wonderful tradition is the rose water spraying of the village and its people, which feels like a splendid blessing of spring. In a place where roses are a specialty and politicians are committed to supporting a rose culture, things don't seem so bad even in the difficult times after the change from communism. In the cool of the evening, the village feet dance on rose petals again and again and again. The Bulgarian sentiment belongs to the powerful depth of the rose that they sing about. In Kazanlak, the old capital of the Rose Valley, the festival has become more of an international tourist attraction. Whatever may be the underlying reasons for a rose festival, the vibrant energy of Bulgarian joy about their roses is delightfully contagious. Ultimate love symbol for the giving between lovers, the rose has always been associated with the feminine, beginning with Venus, the goddess of beauty and love. Rose water is a celebrated aphrodisiac, bringing a focus to sensuality. The chemical composition of true rose oil makes it a powerful tonic for the nervous and reproductive systems, serving at the same time, almost as if by magic, as a sedative elixir. If pleasure and love are the ethereal gifts from the aroma of rose, it is not, however, lacking in a more physical therapeutic value, being a mighty remedy against chronic and acute bronchitis by steam inhalation. The undiluted oil from Rosa damascena can cut in half the life cycle of a virus such as herpes simplex. Rose oil can reduce inflammation, being a remedy for mastitis, gingivitis, and dermatosis. In skincare, it is an adstringent and toner, firming skin and stimulating circulation to bring a rose color to dull skin. Exquisite is the beauty of this rose, fragile but heart-opening and powerfully creating impressions to stir our senses in a striking way. By knowing the damask rose, one can easily understand its relationship to woman and see how the medicinal value of this rose befalls gracefully upon the weave between womb, heart, and mind to purify, tonify, and make whole. Arriving in Paris late July, my mind was set on the lavender fields of Provence. The wheels are turning, they speed my way. I can feel my point of transformation. This journey with plant aromatics is the story of my life. I was moving, loving, filling the self with wonderment to heal ordinary wounds and live an extraordinary life. One must go to the country and smell the clean earth to understand the heart of a people, their destiny, their love, and their powerful relationship to nature. Bonjour, madame. Bonjour. Vous pen, s'il vous plaît?
Oui.
Merci.
Merci. Au revoir.
Au revoir. Oh, lavender grows everywhere here in France. The word lavender comes from the Latin name lavare. It means to wash. So from the very beginning, the association of lavender has always been with cleanliness, to protect from infection. In the First World War, lavender was used to dress wounds in the lack of antiseptics. And whether it is for its profuse number of therapeutic properties or it is for its extensive amount of historical records we have of lavender, all the way from modern times to the ancient Egyptians, lavender has well deserved the name as universal oil. For the 3 weeks that lavender is in bloom, huge trucks laden with the lavandine harvest arrive at distilleries to serve the fragrance industry. All distilleries in France at this time work around the clock. This commercial production of lavandine, the hybrid lavender in Provence, can produce approximately 1,000 kilos of lavandine oil per day. This type of distillation can break the sacs where the aromatic molecules are stored in a plant in as little time as 20 minutes at temperatures rising as high as 140 degrees centigrade. This speedy process and the high temperature destroys the trace elements that are so important to the medicinal value of the essential oil. Here, what matters is the basic composition containing linalool, the important raw material for the fragrance industry. This distillery is using the old method of heating the stills with fire, which saves electricity and uses the plant waste pulp as fuel. However, the massive amount of waste cannot all be used as fuel. The excess plant pulp behind the distillery is far from the beauty of the fields. In places like this, there is an urgent need for waste management and a recycling program. These are the refrigerating tanks where the water flows in to cool. The hot water from the steam, the hydrolate, condenses and the molecules forming the oil separates. Oil, being lighter than water, floats on top of the water inside the collecting tank. This valve stops the flow of water just before the oil, which is collected and loaded directly into exportation drums to be shipped to all the fragrance industry market entry ports. This is a typical field of commercially grown lavandine in Provence. Lavandine is a hybrid plant as a result of bee pollination crossing 2 different species of the genus Lavandula. Lavandula angustifolia, the classic chambray blue lavender of the French Alps, grows no higher than 2 feet, in altitudes up to 1,200 meters. Lavandula latifolia, which is purple in color, can grow to a height of 4 feet at higher temperatures, at altitudes as low as 600 to 800 meters. This lavandin hybrid is cultivated in France for the production of lavandin oil, the most commonly used lavender oil all over the world. The fact that lavandin is a hybrid plant does not eliminate the medicinal value of its oil. It is dependent on the distillation process, whether the complex molecules and trace elements are destroyed or preserved. With a different choice in mind than growing lavender for the fragrance industry, organic lavender French farmers are fully aware of the medicinal value of essential oils. The craft of growing lavender in these small fields is an art form. Lavender is sometimes hand-picked, as in the old days, and the weeding is done without the use of pesticides or herbicides. Most of the French organically grown fields grow Lavandula angustifolia, the species of lavender that originally was found growing wild in the high Alps. This is the lavender known worldwide as Lavandula vera, which means true lavender. Here the French call it lavande fine, fine lavender. Lavender is dried for 3 days prior to distillation. This allows for the terpenes, the harsher components, to evaporate, leaving the more desirable components, such as linaloyl acetate and linalool, intact. In the small town of Saint-Hilaire, outside the main lavender-producing area of Provence, I found a producer with a mission to produce essential oils for the purpose of supplying the medicinal applications of essential oils. The uniqueness of this producer's operation lies in the fact that 5 years ago he developed a patented feature for his equipment that automatically reduces the temperature of distillation to 92 degrees centigrade at the precise moment when the heat causes the oxygen and hydrogen to react with the alcohols and esters released from the aromatic sacs of the lavender plant, forming the essential oil of lavender as we know it. The reduced temperature protects the wholeness of the essential oil, keeping the complex components and trace elements important to the medicinal and holistic value of the composition from being destroyed. The production equipment comprises of the traditional steam distillation apparatus consisting of a steam generator, a still where plant material is placed into for steaming, a refrigerating tank with coolant coils where liquid containing water and oil is condensed, and a collecting unit where oil and water is separated. The resultant pulp after the 3 hours of slow distillation is collected and transported for recycling away from the distillery where the material is used as mulch to be turned back into the same earth again. After steam distillation, the essential oil breathes open to the air for 3 months, a time for oxidation, allowing more aggressive components to evaporate before bottling. This distillery produces approximately 8 kilos of lavender oil per day, a total of 175 kilos per season. Oftentimes, while on the road for this journey, I found my intuition to be the best navigator. I've been all over France. I've seen the commercial fields. I've seen the organically grown fields. And I finally got to you, the wild one. The wilder you get, the more powerful you are. When conditions for survival are difficult, that's when medicinal plants become the strongest. Wild lavender has the most powerful therapeutic composition and the most beautiful smell. Lavender can be inhaled for inducing sleep because it has a sedating effect on the central nervous system. It helps babies and mothers as an anti-stress agent. 7 drops of lavender and 1 of blue chamomile in 1 ounce of almond oil makes a good baby massage oil. In environments where smells are synthetic, such as hotel rooms, we may find it difficult to relax and sleep. Lavender can create a pleasant ambience. The most classic use of lavender, however, is as an antiseptic, sterilizing burns, cuts, and bites, and as an aid in helping cicatrization and surgical incisions to remain infection-free. Lavender, you remind me of those things in life when delicate things can be so strong. People ask me, what are essential oils? And I like to say to them, imagine an orchestra full of string instruments and horns, piccolos, violins, everything that creates a complex composition. That's essential oils, a complex composition that only nature is capable of creating. The journey finds me flying to Bahia, Brazil, my homeland. Colorful images dissolve into my mind. I have a good collection of memories. Could my place of birth be like any other point on the globe because of my aromatic plant research? New places set our senses on fire. What we hear, what we see, what we taste, what we touch and smell. We do not miss a single nuance of perception. But for me, not in Bahia. Here, my roots feed me an essence of their own. My perception has links, pathways, and wings. Roots are stronger than the whole tree. I remember smells from my childhood and people ways with plants. Here, it is automatically understood that plants are our allies. The connection of people to plants and the sacred is as alive here today as it was in ancient Egypt. The Yoruba peoples of West Africa crossed the Atlantic Sea during 300 years as slavery times after Brazil's discovery by the Portuguese in the 1500s. First, they populated the South Atlantic northeast coast of Brazil at the starting point of the old capital, Salvador, in the state of Bahia. The city of Salvador grew in the midst of the Atlantic tropical rainforest. These Africans in Brazil brought new knowledge about nature to the immigrating European groups of Portuguese explorers coming to colonize the New World. They preserved the native plants used in their rites and medicine. In the Yoruba religion, Candomblé, nature is worshipped and natural elements, being the manifestation of a superior power, can be adored and communicated with through their rites. The Yoruba say, plants are sacred. Without the plant, there is no deity, there is no ritual. Without nature, there is nothing. Here, there are no herbal shops, only establishments in the marketplaces supplying the plant ingredients for the recipes prescribed by Yoruba priests and priestesses to heal body and spirit. In Brazil, tremendous respect is given to the medicine and secret magic of plants. The plant is referred to as folha, meaning leaf, or asa. In Yoruba language, asa is the word that originated the name of the plant and medicine deity, the Orisha Osain. The relationship of people with plants is so intense and complex here, it reaches out to match the vast gamma of plant varieties found in this tropical nature. Each personality type evokes a relationship to their Orisha, a particular god or goddess, which in turn relates to a certain plant or group of plants. Color, form, and the elements of earth, air, water, and fire play an important role in deciphering the very complex understanding of the Orisha relationship to their plant. In the ancient African lore, it is said that Osain, the plant and medicine Orisha, protector of the forest, was disguised as a slave, working for the divination lord Ifa. Osain knew all secrets of plants given to him by the supreme god Olorun. The two began to work together, Osain with the knowledge of all plant secrets, and Ifa with the power of the word and the incantations that could awaken the virtues in the spirit of the plants. The two working together would prescribe preparations and baths to expel and cure illnesses and evil, as well as recipes to expel or attract peace, luck, success, energy, and love. All other Orishas needed to consult Osain and Ifa for all their cure needs and deeds, always paying a fee, and this congestion became undesirable. So the violent Orisha of justice, Shango, decided to change the situation. He asked his wife Yansan, Orisha of tempest and winds, to cause a tempest at the precise time when Osain, who kept all plants in a gourd, comes to hide them at a certain tree in the forest. The goal was to cause violent winds to seize and break the gourd, scattering all plants throughout nature where all Orishas could take possession of their plant. So it was. Oshala, the peaceful one, took plants with white blossoms. Yansan and Shango took the red ones with weapon-like sharp leaves. Iemanjá, the ocean queen, took plants with blossoms the color of the sea. And Oshun, sweet water Orisha of love and beauty, kept the aromatic plants, the ones with round shapes of yellow and pink. In face of this situation, Ifa and Osain relinquished ownership of all plants, reserving, however, the secret knowledge of their value and the power of incantation. One of the most prevalent and compelling of all Yoruba practices is the use of fresh plants for therapeutic baths. Today, these baths are used in Brazil for medicine and magic, as it was when he arrived here from Africa more than 400 years ago. The Yoruba fresh plant baths, or banhos de folha, are divided between the opposing forces of attraction and rejection. Popular baths are to attract a lover, a job, a life change, or to repel illness, impotence, misfortune, or any sort of stressful situation. As with aromatherapy, plants fall in a category of stimulants or tranquilizers. Within a category, there are myriads of levels. Stimulants, for example, can address the mind, the body, or even superpowers, as to create or dispel madness, for example. Walking by the old medicine school building and looking at the old statue of Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, who at 400 AD said that the path to health is to have a scented bath and an aromatic massage daily. In Bahia, scented baths are still happening. The live presence of the plant, combined with devotion and worship of the Orisha, creates the dynamic groundwork that very few in Bahia would distrust in the expectancy of a result. Besides, what could be more pleasurable than uniting in prayer at a bath with one's own divinity to ask for favors? When favors are being asked of Orisha Oshun, one must first please the goddess with lovely smells. Fertility goddess of many aromatic plants, she who has the power to grant a lover, a child, beauty, abundance, and prosperity. A devotional bath for Oshun invariably will contain a group of aromatic plants, several of the ones we find wild and in most gardens around the world. Basil, bee balm, patchouli, blossoms from wild cluster roses, tuberose, and Oshun's plant for prosperity, Eripepe, Spilanthes acmella. Plants are scrubbed into the water. Devotees chant to their Orisha. Crushed plants are removed from water, and the scented green water is poured over the body.
Ora eu, oh mamãe, oh. E a de mi botel é, mamãe, oh. E ai, diabá.
Without rinsing, devotees must allow bath to air dry or place clothes back to the wet body. This is repeated for a certain number of days according to the prescribed recipe. In Bahia, there are 447 recipes with respective incantations for every imaginable need or desire registered half a century ago by French professor and photographer Pierre Riveger in his book Ewe, the Yoruba word for plant. For me, this is a time for adventure with the soil that my roots grew into. This soil has been tracked by primitive cultures with an exotic knowledge of plants and very intricate plant traditions. This time, I ask for a new love of an aromatic plant at my homeland. Growing in the remains of the rainforest in Bahia, I discovered a very special flower. I found myself exploring aromatherapy as it happens when an aroma emanates from earth itself. I had special moments with this flower, feeling the body-mind connection with smell and the power of engaging with our green earth. Completely immersed in her aromatic presence, my senses vibrating to absorb her color, form, fragrance, I feel the perfection of pure radiance, an earthly treasure. Her aroma is something from the core of a cardamom seed mixed with the fresh bark of Amazon rosewood and all carefully diluted into lavender honey. After the first encounter, lots of exploration to find out more about her, her name, origin, preferences, and her healing qualities that relates to us. Mostly known in Bahia as Água de Levante, elevating water, other popular names are numerous in different parts of tropical Brazil. In the Amazon, it is known as Água da Amazônia, Lírio do Brejo, or Colônia, a name deriving from the word Cologne due to its use in the Amazon basin for making perfume. In Tahiti, she is porcelain lily, and in Hawaii, luhi luhi, or shell ginger. The Yoruba concept for this flower puts her in a classification of the element water, elements represented by all female orishas. Attributed to the sea orisha Iemanjá by José Flávio Pessoa de Barros, certainly due to the abundance of water that emerges from her flowers. However, I found qualities of other orishas in this plant. The color pink of its outer skin and the gold yellow of its fringes, and the intensively sweet and feminine scent of its pink fluid certainly belongs to the perfumed lady of flowing waters, Oshun. The erect sharpness of its leaves and blood-red design cut in the gold petal is like the passionate behavior of Yeon-sun with her erupting bursts of extravagant emotion. In the scientific classification, we also have more than one name. She is listed as Renialma brasiliensis, as Alpinia speciosa, and Alpinia zerum bet. Água de Levante belongs to the Zinziberaceae family, and she's a cousin of ginger, cardamom, and Hedychium coronarium, or awapui, the white ginger lily growing in Hawaii. Água de Levante grows wild in the South Pacific as well as the rainforests of South America. Although considered by many as a decorative tropical plant, in Bahia she's a healer in the form of tea as a tranquilizer and for the heart to help regulate blood pressure. Women like to use its water in the laundry as a final scented rinse. In the Yoruba scented baths, the blossoms are used to attract love, peace, and good fortune. Back from Brazil with earth treasures that we can't smell, stones. Unlike the perishable biodynamics of plants, stones are frozen light, the most enduring of all Earth's gifts. In my work with subtle aromatherapy and vibrational medicine, I discovered a power in combining the most ethereal quality of flowers and plants in the form of their oils with the enduring solidity of stone to be a fine marriage, a synergy creating a living organism networking two fields of energy from nature's kingdoms. In my studio in California, while awaiting for the blooms of jasmine flowers in India to take me back to the journey, I designed synergies for my signature line of jewelry, Aroma Jewels. The organized energy fields of plants and mineral can cause effects in the human electromagnetic field. The stones magnify and qualify the therapeutic properties of essential oils. Introducing directly to one's energy field is the general known effects of essential oils to tranquilize or stimulate the metabolism. This is when therapy by aroma is done in the most accessible way. Rose otto into rose quartz, a heart-opening and anti-stress, sedating influence. Aquamarine and neroli, a powerful sedative synergy, has a positive effect on the nervous system, helping slow down a fast heart rate. Jasmine into imperial topaz, essentially stimulating uplifting experience for victims of depression, apathy, and inertia. Lavender and amethyst creates a purifying magnetism and an aura of protection, being useful in smoke-filled and polluted environments. Quartz crystal, the most versatile of all stones for containing all rays of the color spectrum, can be used with all the oils. In Coimbatore, southern India, I met with Peter White, an English scientist working with biochemistry research, who in 1987 conceived a new technology for the extraction of aromatic molecules of plants called the Advanced Phytonics process, yielding aromatic oils now labeled in specific markets as phyto oils. In the early evening, together we set out to do a field experiment with the sampling extraction model of the phyto process to extract Jasmine grandiflorum, the jasmine that is usually extracted for the fragrance industry using petrochemical solvents such as hexane. At the end of the day, Peter gives us an extraction demonstration after we collected about 60 grams of jasmine flowers. He applies his solvent, the 1112 tetrafluoroethene, a chemical from the hydrofluorocarbon group of chemicals that he assures me is friendly to the environment, unlike hexane, propane, or butane, the chemicals used for extraction of aromatic molecules of flowers. We watch for a yellow color gradually appearing on the solvent, which is now carrying an extract from the jasmine flower. After some time, we let the solvent containing the aromatic molecules into the evaporator. The solvent being a gas with the pressure of 6 bar, about the same as a champagne bottle, as it evaporates, causes the temperature to drop to minus 26 degrees centigrade. Aromatic droplets from the jasmine extract are trapped in a cold temperature, sticking frozen to the walls of the vessel, making it cloudy. In a 440-liter capacity production equipment, which can produce 150 grams of oil at one distillation, the solvent gas goes into a collecting unit to be compressed back into a liquid and recycled to be used again. The road from field to field is an undivided terrain, with drivers only adjusting to right or left when crossing each other. Oh, sweet smelling jasmine. It was not easy to get here, but arriving at this jasmine field and spending the morning here is giving me one of those moments when the here and now experience dissolves all thoughts. This field grows oil-producing jasmine of the variety Sambac, known as Arabian jasmine. Jasminum Sambac has a long season from October to March, growing with the night's moisture and being harvested before the sunrise. I noticed that this type of jasmine has a different smell note, similar to orange blossoms. In composition, both flowers have similar chemical components, such as nerol and indole. The original species of oil-producing jasmine is a native of China. However, it is grown in several southern Europe countries, in Turkey, North Africa, and here in India. In Chinese medicine, jasmine flowers are used for treating dysentery and cirrhosis. The most common use of jasmine is for scented massage oil to be used as a tonic and antidepressant. Also used for relaxing a birthing mother during labor, helping with postpartum blues, and as a lactation stimulant for promoting milk flow. Like the rose, jasmine is a tonic of the reproductive system, primarily the uterus, and jasmine's arousing scent have a premium reputation as an aphrodisiac. The ancient world behavior on aphrodisiacs seemed to always have involved a substance combined with an action that induced relaxation. Substances were almost invariably infusions of flowers used in massage or fragrant teas and alcohol distilled from fruit. The smell of jasmine, like ingestion of alcohol, can stimulate the libido. The difference in using a smell for this purpose lies in the fact that smell focuses the mind rather than disperses it. The focus achieved can be used to support the mind in leading the body consciously from the sensual to the sexual experience as an unbreakable chain of reaction. I marvel at this purely white, tiny, delicate flower that can transform our senses in such a powerful way. For an aroma researcher, a trip to India would not be completed without a visit to an incense-making factory. This is how I got to learn how stick incense is made. The Maroma Incense Factory in Auroville, southern India, has a line of incense using essential oils such as lavender, cedar, sandalwood, and ylang-ylang. For stick incense, the fragrant blend of oils that the incense will release must be absorbed and fixed by a porous medium, serving as a bonding agent and a fixer of the fragrance. For this purpose, gums and resins are used. In the case of sandalwood, powdered sandalwood bark is directly mixed into the dough. Here, a gum named caraya, after being ground and powdered, is mixed with hot water, becoming viscous enough to be rolled and bonded onto a stick. The gum dough is weighted and divided between crew members. This bonding medium is scentless. In days of good productivity, this crew can roll 2 kilos of caraya, producing 2,000 sticks of incense in one day. The heavier sticks are used in the temples, while the slender ones are for the homes. The rhythm of rolling accompanies the viscosity of the gum, a maneuver that must be acquired with experience. My best effort to roll a single incense stick was clearly a helpless failure. After sticks are rolled, they are allowed to sun-dry until solid for a number of days. After drying, it is time for the dipping. Sticks with bonded resin take a fragrant dive into the prepared liquid, most times a secret perfume formula, combining essential oils with other aromatic preparations that may be natural or synthetic. Incense is a form of environmental fragrancing. Used in India, the #1 producer of stick incense in the world, for thousands of years. 1 week short of completing a year on my journey, I am longing for the closeness of my family. I decide to take my daughter Quendi with me to complete the journey in Africa. We fly to Tunisia for the report on the production of neroli, the oil from blossoms of the bitter orange. In the 1500s, about the time that the Yoruba people of Africa were taken by the Portuguese to Brazil, a group of Andalusians, Muslim Spaniards, escaping from conflict in Spain, came to Northeast Africa, settling in the region of Cape Bon in Tunisia. They brought with them the bigarade tree, the Citrus aurantium, the bitter orange. The importance of this tree to them was the manufacturing of orange blossom hydrolate, the water resulting from the distillation of the bitter orange flowers. Since ancient times, we have made use of hydrolates. The Phoenicians were glass blowers. The Egyptians made perfumes. In northern Africa, this tradition of distilling flowers and mixing hydrolates have been preserved since our ancestors. The hydrolate contains many therapeutic properties and is a panacea in domestic medicinal and ritualistic uses in all Arabian countries. To this day, the popular use of this hydrolate is widespread in all of North Africa. Women use it every day in the kitchen. Many dishes and drinks and the delicious Arabian pastries are done using the hydrolate. Common people distill the flowers in primitive apparatus for home use, and those traveling from other regions can buy the hydrolate here on the highways when it's orange blossom season. The orange blossoms market of Tunisia is an interesting experience. Here, unlike any other place that I have seen, producers and the common people share the raw material due to the importance of the home manufacturing of the hydrolate. As a result, there is the employment of a group of brokers to serve as mediators between farmers, producers, and the people. Producers must go to their brokers every day to control quality and make sure that the quantities of their flower product will be available during the 3-week season. Today, there are 110,000 bigarade trees in Cape Bon, and 70,000 are used for flower production. Blessed with a perfect golden day of sunshine in one of the largest orchards in the region, I have a lot to see and even more to learn. I feel like a small horse, eager to explore without knowing where to begin my first step. Suddenly, I'm greeted by the song and bright-colored dresses of the group of women peasants harvesting the flowers. They have a 3-step flower harvest operation. First, to pick the flowering branches that are in reachable distance. Second, they must use a small wooden ladder to harvest flowers covering the top of the tree. The third step, they must separate flowers from leaves and stem, gathering them on a burlap sack placed in a shade beneath the tree. At midday, they break for a well-deserved lunch. The field is a bright and fragrant experience. I feel so happy to experience the home place of neroli, my favorite essential oil, and get to learn further about the bitter orange flowers. The most important thing I learned today is how to tell the difference between the sweet and bitter orange trees. There are 3 signs. The first sign is the difference on the form of the bud. The bitter orange tree buds have a larger and longer oblong shape rather than the smaller rounded ones of the sweet oranges. The second sign is in the grain, the ovary of the flower, once used to produce the oil of petite grain, which is now done from distilling the leaves of this tree. This petite grain, a small pellet inside the flower, in a bitter orange flower, has a strong bitter taste. As in the sweet ones, the grain is very bland, nearly tasteless. To my amazement, I see the third sign. The leaf of the bitter orange, unlike the sweet, have a sprout where the leaf begins to grow, forming the perfect shape of a heart, and stops as a separate structure once the heart is formed. The leaf starts to grow again, developing into the final leaf. Seeing this was a mysterious experience for me because I related this to my work with therapy by aroma using neroli oil, which seems to invariably help those suffering from heart conditions, high blood pressure, and stress. I recall helping my brother while in the hospital after his heart attack. He had a 180/130 blood pressure, and I had him inhale neroli oil in an aroma jewel while holding thoughts of positive memories. He was able to leave the hospital the next day. He speaks about how this therapy helped him focus his mind and release anxiety. Neroli oil has a physical effect on the central nervous system and can be used as a sedative. The scent of neroli oil has taught me that sometimes, even at critical life and death situations, what it takes to help someone is not a medicine, but a feeling.
It is not difficult to understand the power of neroli if one comes to these fields in a sun-filled springtime. The experience is one of a fresh strength that opens the heart so brightly, and the mind becomes at ease, and depression, stress, and all emotional ills affecting the heart transform.
Production of neroli oil was brought to Tunisia by the French in the early 1900s to serve the fragrance, cosmetic, and pharmaceutical industries. Presently, neroli oil enters the international flavor and fragrance market to supply mainly France, Germany, Switzerland, and the USA. The yield and quality of neroli oil is affected by climatic conditions. Early autumn rains, a mild winter, and a warm spring are the ideal conditions for producing a high-quality, balanced composition with a beautiful scent and less concentrations of terpenes, the more aggressive chemical components. Distilleries work day and night for the 3 to 4 week season. This still for distilling neroli comports 500 kilos of flowers, which will yield half a kilo of neroli oil. At each distillation, which takes from 3 to 4 hours, it takes 2 of these stills and a ton of orange blossoms to produce 1 kilo of neroli oil. The heat of the steam releases the aromatic principle of the flower. The refrigerating tank condenses the steam. The resulting liquid contains the hydrolate and the essential oil. The hydrolate contains hydrophilic components that are not present in the essential oil. These are the type of molecules from the plant that are water-soluble. So the hydrolate is therapeutic in its own way, since the powerful aromatic molecules in the oil are not water-soluble. The oil floats on the surface of the hydrolate, being lighter than water and carrying the aromatic principle of the flower. The final step of the process is the separation of the oil from the hydrolate. In Tunisia, there is 5 producers of neroli oil, which together have the capacity to produce 500 kilos of neroli oil per year. This production facility has a careful and pristine recycling program, which is reinforced by government strict regulation. Hot water is piped for 500 meters to cool before it enters the ground, And after distillation, all flower pulp is used to fertilize the orange orchards. Here I was able to witness the breathtaking moment that producers eagerly wait for all year, to see the essential oil being formed as it separates from the hydrolite.
Do you see?
It's beautiful.
They're beautiful, yes. It's like a jewel, like diamond or crystal. Yes.
After distillation, during the separation of the oil, the aromatic molecules rise from the bottom to the surface of the hydrolite, first in the form of biomolecular crystals, gathering up to become the essential oil. After this extraordinary experience, I spent contemplative moments, taking my thoughts back to the early alchemists. Now I'm back in California and my world journey is over. And I want to say that all I really did was follow my intuition. Seemed like every day something unexpected would happen and I would get an idea and follow that. And that would lead me to the next thing and the next thing until suddenly I had the story that I was living in and creating records to share with you. Now, what about making a perfume yourself using the ancient world way and the true finest flower oils in the world? Let's call it Flower Journey. Be mixed with half an ounce of jojoba oil, 12 drops of neroli, 8 drops of rose, 8 drops of jasmine, and 4 drops of lavender.